Hello, Darren the Magic Ghostbuster here. So this is the next part of making my leather Vigo costume, which is taking a lot longer than I expected. I don't know why it's taking longer than or why. I'm not sure how to describe it. I should have known how long it's going to take because I made one previously. So I'm not sure why I'm shocked by it. But making the gauntlets in this part, so that's the bit that goes around the arm like this. So this is my previous one from my previous costume. So I've got bits of leather that I have already cut out. So let me just lay them out a little bit. So I've gone a little bit larger than the previous one, just because just to be safe really, because it's always easier to cut away more than obviously to add more. So that's kind of what it will look like. Handle go through there. It's a bit tied more at the back, and obviously I have a glove on that. Now on the original, or my original, not the actual original, I used these little spikes here and then these longer spikes here. Now since getting the pictures from the auction, the screen used one, I discovered that these tiny spikes are actually little domes, so they're not spikes, so I've got those. And then the larger spikes on there are more like this kind of spike. I don't know if the camera's gonna focus in on that, but the comparison. So probably couldn't see that, but yeah. So at the moment it's just a few days from Christmas as I record this, so things are getting a little bit insane. So far I've done the skirt portion with the belt, I've done that midsection bit, I've done the gloves, and I've done the boots. So I mean the plan is going to be wearing this for the New Year's Day parade, which I'm doing for charity. I'll be with the South Sea Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters Car Hire UK. So far I've made quite a lot of money for Great Ormond Street, which is great. So the plan is to get the costume finished for them. I will be happy if I can get the gauntlets done before Christmas. And I've still got a big roll of leather over there, which I can see. You can't see it. I'd plan to get the top armour part at least cut out, which I'd like to do tomorrow, so I can get the offcuts out the way, and then that is something I'll work on. I'll finish that in between Christmas and New Year, hopefully. So cutting it a bit fine, but so the first part of this is putting the studs in and then stitching it all together. Now I've done this I think I've shown this in previous videos. To be honest, some of this I've recorded, some of it I've not, so just forgetting what I've done now really. But the way you stitch the leather together, so you have this tool here which punches the holes in, so you lay that on top and basically hammer it through to hammer the holes, and that way you can stitch it, because this is quite thick leather. I've got two different thicknesses here. I had intended to use all of the thinner leather for these. I don't know if you can tell the difference on there, but this one's a bit thicker. Unfortunately I didn't get quite as much of the thin stuff as I planned, so just gonna have to make do with a bit of both, but should be okay. Also the outer parts I've made slightly wider than the inner parts, if that makes any sense, because there might be a bit of overlap once you curve it round, and then I can trim it after. But yeah, punching those holes, sorry, yeah, been a Christmas of illness. Yeah, so I'll punch those holes, get the studs on and stitch it all together. Now let me just show you so the way the studs, spikes, whatever you want to call them, attach. You've got these ones, the biggest spikes attach with just a screw, normal Phillips head screw. The ones that are a little bit harder, which are the small domes, and that requires basically pushing them through, so making little slits, pushing them through and bending the parts back. Now I have found from doing this on a couple of previous things, so let me just grab this tool. So the thicker leather is where you get a slight problem with that, because those things don't go quite through fully. So I've got this tool, which is normally used for sort of sorting the edges out really, but what I've been doing is I've just sort of been getting it, and so I'm not going to do it properly, but just sort of grinding away at the back where one of those studs is going to go, and that makes it a bit thinner, the leather, and I can get those in okay. So yeah, it's it's getting there. Right, so this is where I'm at with it at the moment. So I've stitched these bits together, done the spikes and studs in there. Need to apply them there, but what I've been doing as I've been going is applying a little bit of black polish to the edges, so it just helps give it a bit of depth and helps a bit stand out. So what I'm doing is just applying it with a cotton bud, just like that, and just add in a bit more there. It was my friend Paul's idea to use polish. Actually, when I first started thinking about this, because he's really good at model making and painting, I actually phoned him to see if he could airbrush it. And yeah, and he said, you know, and he said he was more than happy to, but he thinks it'd actually be better to use polish. So I was like, oh, okay. Never actually thought of it. Seemed obvious now, but yeah. So yeah, and then. And then I just see it just adds a little bit to it there. So yeah, next stage is to apply the studs, get this bit sewn on. Right, so this is what I've got now. Now it's a little thick doing that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim away these bits. Let's see how that goes. It should, in theory, roll around a lot nicer. Right, so that's pretty much done. So we'll just get that in here. So I think the next stage, which I'm going to do tomorrow because it's getting late, I've got a job tomorrow, I'm going to do some stitching down the sides, punch the holes in so it can be tied, and then that'll be this done. Right, so that is the gauntlets done. I have now done both, so I finished off the ends and yeah, tied them up. So how they go, they slide on like this, and then so the gloves I've actually done a tad longer than the actual screen used originals, so they will sort of slot in there. And what that just means is that they'll basically, there'll never be a break in the leather there, because I found sometimes with my original costume, if I bent my wrist and all that in a picture, you'd see loads of my skin, whereas with this there'll always be that bit of leather there. So let's put the other one on as well. What I'll do is these bits of string, I was going to tie them off, but I think I'd actually just be better off tucking them in. Obviously I wouldn't normally be wearing them with a Ghostbusters Christmas jumper, but I'm finishing these after another job. So it's just very manic at the moment, but yeah, there they are. So I'm incredibly happy how they've come out. So next up is the final part, which is the main armour. Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you in that video. Until then, keep on busting.
Want to give a big shout out to the Magic Ghostbuster. Hey Darren, very, very impressive.